Hey, it's Jason here with Metal Mastermind, and welcome back to our EQ Hacks Mixing Metal series with Nic Z. We are now on our fifth and final instructional video of this series, and in this final video, Nic is going to share with you what I consider like a secret weapon here that's going to make your life so much easier in this studio, and it's going to help you nail down those mixes a lot faster. Before we get started, we have the links to all of the videos in this awesome series in the description of this video.
Now let's see what we can do. You know what? Let's try. I got rid of those tracks, but Ria EQ, where are you? There you are. So let's try the two band thing where you just have highs and lows. Now let's see how close I can get these guitars with just two bands. And another thing that the additional hack here, and this is pretty important, is to over EQ. And what I mean by that, I'll show you right now what I mean by that. So let's turn these drums on. So that sounds pretty good, balance-wise. Now let's EQ them. Let's get them in the mix. And that's it. And what I meant by over EQing was this, what I did with this EQ. Here, I'll do it with a different one. Where I went very, very high first, and then I brought it back down. And I do that all the time. Make the move big, make huge, big moves, so you can really, really hear what you want to do. Because for me, at least, it's easier to know what I do want when I have too much. Like, it's easier to subtract than it is to add. Because when I'm adding, like if I'm adding it a little bit here, adding it a little bit here, adding it a little bit here, like, do I want, okay, I'm going to get a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Like, yeah, okay. I mean, you can keep pushing like that if you want. Like, and if that's how you EQ, that's fine. I like to EQ with big, broad strokes like this, where it's obvious that it's way too much. And then what I do is I pull it back until it's correct. That's a huge hack for you. And that's on any band, and not just with the shelf. That's with any EQ move that I'm doing. It doesn't matter what it is. If I'm, doing a bell, whatever the case may be, I always way overdo it. Way. Big, huge moves. And then I tuck it back into where it's supposed to go. And it's just so much easier than trying to find the exact right value that you're looking for in the mix by pushing it up and being afraid to destroy the signal. No, fuck it. Destroy the whole signal and then bring it back to where it's cool. You know what I mean? At least that's what I like to do, and it's helped me immensely. When I started to move EQs around like that, when I started to not be scared of them, and I really started to push them around and really started to turn knobs and move sliders and stuff like that, like, that's when it started to turn into something. So let's hear this. Real soft moves, and I mean, a lot of what's happening there is this dip in 500, you know what I mean? But really, it looks like all I did was turn the signal up. But I'm just trying to get a little bit more high and a little bit more low because, again, all I have is two bands. But let's kill this. And let's go to the 3-band version. So that's, what were we doing, 250? I'll just turn it off. Here we go, 250. And this one at 6K. Or 5K, I think it was. And this one right smack in the middle of those two. So like 15, 1.5. And now this is the car stereo EQ, and let's see what we can do. Again, you see me start to push it up, and I'm like, I don't know if I like this. No, let's go big. Let's make it nice and big and destructive. Cool. So that doesn't sound bad to me for 3 bands. There's my drums, there's my guitar. Like, you could argue the minutia of that all day long, like in your preference, like, oh, I don't like so much mid in my guitar, or whatever the case may be. Fine, you know what I mean? But for my taste and for everything else, like, I got this guitar really close, and I did it with 3 bands. And that's cool. You know what I mean? If you're new to EQ and you're just done with, like, all the choices and blah, 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 try this out. Maybe it'll work for you. Let's skip this, and let's go to the graphic EQ. See what we can do. Let's start at the bottom. So I can't even hear this cut in context, which is interesting. Maybe you guys can, but whatever. These headphones that I'm on, like, I could hear that Pro Q cut very clearly. And this is high passed all the way to 120 hertz. And I can't hear it. I can't hear the difference when I turn this on and off, when I A/B this. And, you saw before, like on that 6 dB per octave slope, like we got to like 90 before the signal started to deteriorate, and when it was brick wall, like 50. This is 120. So I have no idea how gentle this slope is, but I can't hear it. Not in context. Like, maybe if I took this out of solo, or if I put it in solo, rather. Yeah, you can hear it a little bit in solo. Let's back it off maybe a little bit, which is not at all what we should be doing. We should be doing it with the drums, but whatever. So let's do it to 100. Which is really, really, really high, as and destructive. And I don't understand why this EQ isn't destroying it, but it's not. So good. Let's move on. That sounds good. That boost at 400. It's nice and fat. Let's go to 8. Cool. And before, I think in solo, I had 8 up. Now I like it cut next to the drums. Big moves. Big moves. Let's do way too much. Let's take out too much. I don't love that. And I wish I had a different band, but I don't. That's what I have. So that's where I like it. Let's move on. That's super bright. And I'm not 100% sure, but let's listen. Yeah, it's just kind of noise up there in context. Let's rebalance this and see how it sounds. And again, balancing, I took this all the way down. I didn't move it like just this little bit down trying to get to where I want. I'm going to take it all the way down and I'm going to roll it up. Big, big moves. That's cool. With the guitars and the drums, what I'm looking for is I want to hear the kick. I want to hear the snare. Obviously, I want to hear every shell. This has, like I said, a ton of cymbal in it that I wouldn't have so much cymbal in it. But what I really want to hear with the guitars, especially with the rhythm guitars, is I want to hear them pop out on the sides. And that's where they are now. Hear how the top of the guitar, like that 6K that we turned up, is really giving it that stereo image. I'm into it. So let's finish this out. Let's do the bass with this graphic EQ and see how close we can get. This is just habit, getting rid of some of the sub. I can't hear this right now, and you probably can't either. But it's just one of those good measure things that, take off a little bit of that sub so it doesn't rumble when stuff builds up. Some guys high pass this a lot more, but I don't even know how this thing works slope wise, so I'm not going to go crazy with it. But I'm just going to put a little bit on it because why not? See what we got here. I'm not mad at that, and that's a ton of 100 hertz. That's 8 dB. It's a lot. For this EQ, that's almost as much as you can do. So. I can't even hear that at 2.5. I don't know what's going on with the signal. But when I watch, I'll push 2.5 all the way up. I can't even hear it. It's so low. It's probably a huge cut that Jay did on the way in. But if I can't hear 2.5, then I'm certainly not going to be able to hear the rest of these. So let's take another look at 800. So that's cool, but we're devouring the kick drum. So let's turn it down. Cool. Get these leads. I'm just going to drag this over and reset it. I did a couple bands. Here we go. That really doesn't sound like it needs much. It sounds like we moved everything around, everything else around really well, so it's kind of sitting nice, but let's see. So now I'm making decisions based not on what I'm hearing, but what I already know from the other track. And what I know is that we pushed up 4K or 400 hertz on the rhythm guitars. So I don't want to push them up too. I'm not going to like cut them all the way out of this signal. Just like, you can't have two 400 hertz. That doesn't make any sense. But it's not something that, like in solo, I might turn this up because I think it sounds good. But contextually now, like I know that it already exists somewhere else in the mix in the guitars. So maybe I don't want to have two 400 or 400 hertz pushes. So I'm going to look first. I'm going to listen and I'm going to see. But I have that information before me, so I can make like more of an informed decision about it. Actually sounds pretty cool, but let's see what happens to the rest of the instruments when I put it at level. It's kind of a lot. It's kind of fighting with the rhythm just the littlest bit in that area. So I'm going to turn it down. All right, let's go to 8. I like that in this guitar. There's a lot of pick scrape going on there, and I'm into it. Let's try this. I almost just want to crank that and make it as bright as possible, but let's not get crazy. Because I'm pretty sure, this is very, very, very low in the rhythm guitar. So, again, using that information, 2.5 is not a guitar frequency usually, unless you're playing something very, very, very low. If you're doing like super low tuned, drop tuned shit, like genty stuff, then you're probably going to wind up around 2.5 for your top. But usually it's closer to 3K. But it's not in these guitars, which means that we can push them up in the lead. So let's do that. $6K, let's check it out. All right, 6K, I'm going to put it in context, so I'm going to rebalance this real quick. Again, like I'm messing with it, and I still do it. I mean, you probably see me do it 6 different times in this video. I have to remind myself. Like, stop messing with it. Stop fidgeting with it. Stop moving it, in these quarter dB increments, and just rack the thing. Get rid of it, and then pull it back up gradually until you can get it where you want it. It's so much easier. Here we go. Push the guitar up a little bit because I think I get more out of it. That's nice. Let's see what we can do with 6K now to bring out some of those highs. That's cool, man. I can get away with a lot. So let's keep going. There, I just did it again. You see me creep that increment up? I'm creeping it up because I'm scared. I don't want to do too much. Oh, now let's do it with 12K. Let's do the other thing. Watch. That feels like way too much 12K of anything. But I can't really hear it, so let's zero it and see how it sounds with none. It sounds cool, so we're going to leave it. And that's a lot of really, really high air, but it's going in. So, no EQ. EQ. And that was all done except for the drums, which were to get me more to something where I could really show you guys the power of that of this graphic EQ. To try to get them closer. But trust me, like if we had drum stems, like we could have probably gotten it really, really close with this. I mean, we would have had to be creative with it because there's no 50 hertz for the bottom of the kick, but still, I mean, like let's say that we did everything but the kick drum with this. Let's say we used this on everything but the bottom of the bass and the kick drum. I think we could still do a whole mix with just this EQ. And this changes the picture so much. And you go from really not knowing which frequencies to turn up and oh my God, and is this too much? And I'm not sure. To automatically like having those values pre-assigned for you. So you don't have to worry about it because you can't make that decision. You can't over choose. You know what I mean? And that sounds like kind of insulting, but like too much choice isn't always a good thing. And I see it a lot personally on like guitar sims. Like, so they'll like, and this is how I feel, like maybe you don't agree with me, but like when I see on a lot of guitar sims, they'll give you the cab, but then they'll like let you choose like where to put the mic on the cab. And I mean, you can go crazy doing this shit. You could do this for hours and hours and hours. And like in reality, when you have a 57 and you're pointing it at the speaker, it moves around, but it doesn't move around like as drastically as it does in these sims. Like if you're, say that you're in position A and it's the edge of the speaker, right? And then position B is like the cone of the speaker. Like there's a definite change of sound when you move the mic in real time, and that's like playing through a cab where you're driving the speaker, not like blasting or whatever the case may be, and a proper mic distance away. But on these sims, if you move it like one iota to just one little increment to the left, like the sound is completely different. It's completely different. And then if you move it to the cone, like fucking forget about it. Like you're on a different planet. And not only can you move the mic, and I mean, you can move the mic all around the speaker, you can put the mic wherever you want, and then they give you another mic so you can mic the cabin stereo. So now you have two mics that you can move to like these infinite number of positions, and then they give you different mic choices. You could do like a 57 or a ribbon or a condenser or like all these different kinds of mics, and then you can use that many combinations on both things. And like, is that cool to make sounds? Yeah, it's incredible to make sounds, but like if you're trying to get a guitar sound, like there's an endless number of possibilities, like literally like an infinite number of possibilities. And that's not even talking about like the EQ that's on the amp, the graphic EQ that comes with it sometimes, or like the effects that come with it, or like maybe like the overdrive or the color or the saturation or anything. And that's before you even get to the mix. That's just crafting the guitar tone. So like if you're really, really advanced and you really, really, really want to go down that road, sure. But for the rest of us that need to get a guitar tone like today because I'm in the studio and like I want to get some work done today, like I want to write, I don't want to fuck with my guitar tone literally all day. I don't need that. And eventually you're probably going to need all of the infinite bands on Pro Q3 or whatever the case may be, or if I load up like my favorite channel strip, which is, lots of people's favorite channel strip, which is this SSLE. And this, this gives you 4 bands. But, all right, so you get 2 filters, right? That you can filter up to, you can't filter past 350 on this, or 350. You can't do it. It won't let you. And you can't low pass past 3K. So it literally won't let you do it. Your choices are limited. As far as this up here goes, you can change this into a bell and then have 4 bells, but this is a shelf. This EQ is a shelf up here. And down here as well is a shelf, unless you really, really want to make it a bell if you're doing surgery. But that's all you get is 4 bells. Or a high shelf, a low shelf, and then these 2 mid-frequency things. And yes, you can change the frequency to many, 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 many different kinds of frequencies, and you can change the Q from being very, very narrow to very, very wide as your ears need it. But still, the choices that you have on something like this compared to something like this is nuts. The choices you have on Pro Q3, and that's why everyone uses it, are so over the top. I mean, I can EQ this a little bit and I can change the Q all the way to the whole spectrum pretty much with some roll off at 10 hertz and whatever this is, 30, 29,000 or whatever. And not only that, but I could change the position of mid-side. I could change just EQing the left side or the right side of a stereo signal. These things are endless. They're endless. So do yourself a favor, give yourself a break, and if you're new to EQ, try these EQ hacks. Zoom way out. Start with the most or the smallest amount of tracks that you can, and if that's on your 2 bus or your master bus, great. Start there, and then start with the fewest amount of EQ channels that you have. Start with that 2-band EQ. Okay. After that, go to the 3-band. Go to the car stereo EQ. Then go to the graphic EQ before you even get into the parametric. See what you can do. Try it out. Try to get some understanding of frequencies. See how much you can push it. When you're done with that, try to maybe go to a channel strip and see if you can EQ that way. Stay away from parametric from as long as is humanly possible until you're ready for parametric. Once you're ready for parametric, get in. Dig in. Let's get it. Let's get 222.5 hertz out of your mix because you don't like the way it sounds. That's fine. But if you can't hear that, don't don't go fucking around with it and ruining your mix. And certainly don't spend the amount of time that it takes to try and dig things out when you don't know when they're there. Trust me, when it's time for that, you'll know it. And if you're there, kudos, love it. But if you're not, try some of these other things. I guarantee you'll start to get better results, and things will start to pop. But be really, really careful if you are going to EQ next to these signals. Make sure that these signals, these songs or these stems or whatever the case may be, like, do that, but be really, really careful that what you're looking for is just to ballpark yourself. Because if you're trying to infinitely like match their tone, you're going to drive yourself up a fucking wall, and it's going to be nuts. And you don't have the room that this Inflame song was recorded in. You probably don't have these mics. You don't have the board that it went into. Like, there's so many variables that you don't have to get it to sound like that. But you should be able to get it in the ballpark. So just be careful. Don't go down that rabbit hole because it's counterproductive. But anyway, I hope you learned something. I hope that your EQ adventure is easier, especially if you're just starting out. And I hope that you can get there faster and maybe, get a better understanding of what's going on. And that's it. That's all I got. Thanks, Jay, very much for the stems, and I'll see you guys soon. Come see us over on Metal Masterminds, where we all hang out. And take a look at Metal Producer Overlord if you want more stuff like this. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Guys, if this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoyed Nic's teaching style and his approach, the way he simplifies things, Nic has an entire course where he goes through the complete process of mixing for multiple subgenres of metal. It's called Metal Producer Overlord. There's a link for that course in the description of this video. Nic also does one-on-one consultations. So if that's something that you're interested in, we'll have a link to that in the description as well. And we'll also have links to all of the videos in this series here, in the EQ Hacks series. We'll have that in the description of this video. So do check that out. And thank you so much for being a part of Metal Mastermind. We appreciate you. As always, create your own sound.